Hey everyone, welcome to the Canine Culture Podcast, where we talk about everything dog. Q&As with veterinarian professionals, rescue operators, everyday topics. We cover everything dog on this podcast. So make sure you subscribe to the Canine Culture Podcast on your favorite podcast platform, and make sure you're following us on social media on both Instagram and Facebook. Thanks again for listening. Now here's that next episode. Hey everyone, welcome to the Canine Culture Podcast. This is your host, Brittany, and today we have a special guest from On the Nose Dog Training. It is a training facility located down in St. Augustine, Florida. So welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good. So tell us about yourself. I didn't mention your name because I'm terrible with pronunciation, especially with a sinus infection. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to let you tell everyone about yourself.
Yes, definitely. Hi, I'm Corina. I actually started my training life off as a dolphin trainer. I started an internship with sea lions, then I moved to Hawaii with dolphins for a little while, and then back to Atlanta, Georgia, where I trained dolphins for a couple years. So that's kind of where the journey started, and then it shifted into service dogs and to opening my own place.
That's super cool. I have never met anyone that trains dolphins or trained dolphins. So that's wild. That's for a whole other day, a whole other conversation, but that's super cool. So tell us a little bit about On the Nose Dog Training. How did you get started? Why did you get started? Tell us everything about the business.
Yeah, so I started doing in-home dog training, going to people's houses, and I kind of saw a little bit of a gap where I felt like I was just throwing all this information out at people and expecting them to catch it. And I wanted to kind of fill that space where, okay, instead of giving them all the information and expecting them to do it, what if I give them the information and give their dog the information so then they can do it together? And so that's why I wanted to kind of create a dog training school where the dogs come with us, they spend the day with us, and then we kind of pair up the client and their dog. And are like, okay, dog knows this, you know this, put it together, beautiful match. And I started seeing a lot stronger and longer lasting results that way. Mm-hmm. And so that's kind of where it started, was the in-home. I saw that little bit of a gap, wanted to fill it, and we opened our location in October. So it's been a great time. We've had such great clients.
Oh yeah, that's awesome. I don't think people realize with dog training, it's so much about training the dog as it is the owner. Like you have to have both of those pieces or it's not going to work,
Exactly. Yeah.
So what kind of methodologies do you guys follow at your facility?
So we are primarily positive reinforcement because of kind of the foundational level. Most of our dogs come in very, they're coming to school. They're coming to learn all of their basics, how to be kind of better companions. Our little motto is bring out the best in your best friend. And so a lot of right, I love it. A lot of it is like, you're sending your kid to kindergarten and everything's a lot more exciting and positive, and we don't have to worry about the stress of things. It's all those basics that we're just creating a well-rounded dog. So we are very positive reinforcement.
And then I know that the dogs come to you. So you guys obviously do in person at that St. Augustine location. Do you also have virtual options for people?
We don't currently. It's definitely something I want to look into. It's been a fun challenge of kind of adapting the business since it opened to see what suits the needs of people. And that's actually something the last week I've been looking at diving into. So in the future, possibly.
Okay. And as far as the people who come in person, so how is that structured? Like you bring your dog in once a week or every day for a certain number of weeks? Like how do you tailor those plans?
Yeah, so we do a meet and greet where we ask the client come in with their dog so that we can kind of establish the best program for them. Typically they're between 1 to 3 times a week for about 4 weeks is our starting program, and then always seeing where we go from there. And it's all based off of the dog specifically. We do half day, full day, depending on how old they are, what they can retain. I personally like twice a week. I think it's the perfect amount of time for a dog to, get all the information and not forget it in between sessions. And so, yeah, that's how we kind of structure that.
Yeah, that makes sense. Especially kind of reinforcing it frequently, but not too much where the dog just gets overly tired or they're just done with it.
Exactly. We get a lot of young dogs. I don't think I expected quite as many puppies as we're getting, and I love it.
Mm-hmm.
We get a lot of young dogs, and I mean, they can't do that much of a schedule. They need those short sessions, but frequent enough to solidify it.
Right. So, based on your experience, what are some tricks, or I don't even want to call them tricks because it's not really tricks. Like, what are some life skills or etiquette that almost every dog needs to know?
Oh my gosh. Okay. So I was thinking about that the other day. I have three things that I like solidified in dogs. First thing, recall. Recall is the most important thing, safety thing. If your dog is running and you need to come back, being able to get them the first time is so important and something we work on all day, every day. And then further, I train dogs to not go through doors without permission. And it's something that is a little bit more of an advanced thing because, doors open, dogs want to run through them.
Right.
But I really like to establish in them, if a door opens, you're not going through it until I tell you can go through it.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of my clients come to me and the issues are they run out the door and they won't come back. So the two of us kind of go hand in hand.
Right.
And the last one that I really focus on a lot is leave it. Super important in life. You go on a walk, you see a random hot dog in the bushes, you don't know what's on that. You don't know where it came from. I want to be able to tell my dog to leave it and them actually leave it. So those are super, super important life skills for dogs, for parents to work with their dogs on. And we work on them every single day.
Those are skills that anyone that listened to this knows. I have a 3-year-old rescue Pomeranian. He, in so many different ways, he is developmentally behind. He's very reactive, came from a very abusive situation. He was on a euthanasia list when we got him. And any trainer that's listening to this has worked with me. They know he's a sweet boy, but recall, it's not there at all. We're 1 year deep and we haven't made much progress. So the fact that you work on that every single day, like that takes patience. Not going through the door, I think maybe we've successfully done that 2 or 3 times in a year. So that's another point. And then leave it. Quite honestly, we're using leave it so much in our household. We're using leave it for bark, leave it for getting off the furniture, leave it for not picking things up. And so now we have overdone it in our own house. And so leave it has lost a lot of its value. And so it's funny that you mentioned those things because those are like the daily things. And I'm like, we have got to get better at this or we've got to revise this. So I agree with you. Every dog needs to know those, especially the recall. Like, even though my dogs don't have recall and I would love for them to, one of them, she's deaf. Good luck. The other one, he used to have recall, but he's a little prince. People know that. So he's like, I'm deaf. Like he'll have recall when he wants it. So we're trying to really instill that in our youngest one, especially since he's a runner. He's fast and he thinks it's all fun and games when he gets out the door and he does the run and you get close and he tucks his tail and he takes off even faster. So, yeah.
It all takes so much patience. And like, that's a big reason why I went into vehicle. Like, I can be patient for you. Yes. I have honed it for years where I have apprentice trainers that I'm teaching dog training to, and they will stare at me and be like, how are you just standing there and waiting or standing there and working? How are you doing that? I'm like, oh my gosh, practice. And I also personally have 5.5 dogs. I say half because one of them's a foster. And they all learn very, very differently, and they all very differently. So I've got Ranger, who's my golden retriever, who sees a door and just breaks and will not go through it. And I've got Timmy, who sees a door and is ready to go. And thank God he's got a good recall, so we can call him back. But they're all very different, and kind of figuring that out with each dog is a craft.
And it's kind of like having kids. I mean, all kids learn differently. I'm sure like kindergarten teachers, first grade, every grade, honestly. But teachers would tell you like, oh, every student is so different and how they learn is so different. And again, it's all about patience when you're working with a human or a dog. I mean, especially a dog because they can't communicate, Well, they can, but not in traditional sense. They can't sit there and tell you, exactly what's going on.
Yeah, it's a little bit difficult.
Yeah. So tell everyone where they can find you as far as your website and social media.
I can be found pretty much anywhere at On the Nose Dog Training. We are on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. And then our website is onthenose.dog, D-O-G. Catches a lot of people off guard. I hated it in the beginning, I'm going to be honest, but it's grown on me and I think it's adorable now. So onthenose.dog.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on today.
All right.
Thank you for tuning in to the Canine Culture Podcast. Please make sure you subscribe to the Canine Culture Podcast on your favorite podcast platform and make sure you're following us on social media. If you have any recommendations, any topics that you'd like to hear, if you know of any guests that would be good for the show, or if you yourself want to be a guest, please reach out to us. Send us an email at canineculturepodcast@gmail.com or send us a direct message on social media. Thank you for listening, and please share this with any of your dog-loving friends.